So yes, we are here. We are here. There's many here that are supporting this conversation today with this profound connection because it needs to be done. This connection needs to be done for many reasons, and not just for the people that are involved in this conversation and connection today, but to be able to give people concepts and content for their own personal experiences, for them to be able to ponder and consider their own approaches of how they would have to deal with talking to their loved ones who are going to stay on the old earth. This is significant for you to be able to all practice this, to be able to have these conversations with your loved ones, and even maybe people that you are disconnected with. Would you be able to show them compassion? Would you be able to understand and respect that their life contract has got significance and great value? We ask all who are listening to this session that is about to commence, that you have an open heart and hope, an open mind, and to consider if you were in the same position, in the same predicament as the daughter and as the father. And we will continue to support and send profound love and healing to all who will be affected by this content.
Yes. I would like to call in my dad, please, in his conscious state of awareness, where he has a manual that has been left behind for old Earth. And after reading the manual a couple of times, what is it that you sense? What is it that you gather from reading it?
That I was proud of you while you were alive, and now I am beyond proud. Still, I'm so proud. I'm so proud. I honor you. I feel so humbled to be your father. I just have so much profound gratitude towards you and all that you did. And I thought you were amazing, and everything I knew about you was amazing. And now I see how profoundly amazing you were. And I thank you. I thank you. I thank you.
Oh, Dad, thank you. How many times at this point have you read the manual?
I've read it I've read it 3.5 times, but every part where it mentions you, I read it over and over again. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's just so profound. It's so profound to read and know that you have done this in the past, and talking about my future, which I was completely oblivious to. It's such a it's a convoluted experience to know that you knew about this when I had no clue, and for you to process all these emotions and still do all that you did and do to balance the kids and your life. And I can't even comprehend what it would be like for you to have known this and not like, I understand it would have just been so profoundly challenging to not tell everyone this. This is epic. This is so epic. And I feel like I would have respected you and been open minded to when you told me this, but it just doesn't sink in. You just cannot be prepared. You cannot get it and grasp the whole concept of what is happening until you're here and you've seen it all. It still feels very surreal being here. It is so it's a mind bend, and I know that I have sensed and I have wanted to be able to talk to you because I kept hearing and reading that we were going to have these connections. And I just, it's so, I am lack of words. I am lack of words because
You go ahead.
it's just there's so much content here, and I keep processing me and my situation, and then I just keep thinking about you and how was it to even know about this and still keep a balance and to still have to not go into despair, not to it's amazing. It is amazing. It's a lot to process, but now I am knowing that we're having this conversation, and I feel like I've got so much things to tell you and to say, and yet I'm still trying to unpack and understand. And I feel bad that I couldn't support you when you were going through all this and understanding this concepts and understanding what was happening for humanity. Because even though I was sensing that there was some real disconnect and that things were not getting back to normal, it was quite the opposite. There was still something dooming, and there was some form of anticipation for something, and I wasn't sensing that it was something positive. I felt like it was going to be more control and more lack of freedom, and I guess to some degree I was right. We do not have the freedoms that we once did because our lives are so broken down and basic now, and I can see and understand what has happened, while I'm still trying to be in balance with the emotions of it and to support others. But I've read the book and I know who you are, and it makes me feel very happy to know that you're okay,
Yeah.
because that was the hardest. And I'm still coming to terms with it, but I have to believe that you gave me this book and you knew this information. And I have to believe, I have faith, I have hope, I trust that everything is okay. And that I'm here for a purpose, just like you are there for a purpose. And I accept it.
Do you recall us having any kind of conversation about all of this the last time I saw you?
It was something big on your mind. Your heart was so heavy. And I was worried because I didn't know what was wrong. I knew and sensed that there was something that you were not sharing with me. And I was wondering if it was some marital issues or some personal issues. I could never have guessed this. I never could have guessed this. And you held me so tight, and the tears in your eyes when we said goodbye. I just thought you just weren't ready to talk because I just assumed it was emotion of something else. And I can sense there was something on your mind so eating away, and I just was so glad to see you. But I was surprised that you didn't want to open up to me, and because I thought it was something else. And now I can understand that the we just want to have a conversation. I would never have let you go. I don't think I would have let you go if I knew it was going to be the last time I was going to see you. So, as I understand now, I understand. But it took me some time. I didn't understand why you wouldn't tell me straight away. But then I realized, how can you have that conversation with anyone? It is so huge. And I understand that there was all these emotions you would have thought about. It is impossible to share this information from the other side without all of the reactions of the emotions. I would have been in denial. It would have been panic. It would have been stress. It would have been too overwhelming. And I wouldn't have been able to process the purpose and the experience and the lessons and the significance of it until I experience the events. And it has to sort of unfold this way, for me at least. But I can only say that from my experiences of unpacking and processing all of it. It's so huge. There's nothing that compares someone for it, and I know the impact of knowing this before it happened would have been so heavy on your heart and on your mind. And I know Oh, I feel more concerned for you than I feel sorry or concerned for myself, because it just, I can see and imagine you wanting to tell everyone, but then also having the backlash and the people who say negative things who don't want to believe it. No one wants to believe this. No one would want to believe this. And I understand how your work works, and I understand how these sessions work, and I get it now. It would have been so challenging to not have screamed this out to the world, but it is something you have to experience to understand this is legit. This is actually a situation that is happening and has happened. And um, you can read about it, you can see all the movies that give you suggestions about the end of the world and all the catastrophes that could potentially happen. You feel like your life is preparing you for this event in one way or another when you're sitting there pondering the experience that has just been had, but nothing can prepare you for it. And but I want you to know that I am grateful for all that you've done, because I know that you're not just helping me, but you're helping everyone that I know. And I'm proud of you for that. I am so proud of you for that. And I'm honoring this, and I'm sharing this, and I'm not holding back, and I am doing every lesson, and I'm applying everything.
I know you are. I know you are, Dad. Well, just know that I am okay. I am absolutely okay, but it was hard. Um, you know, feeling like that was going to be, or that could be the last time that I would see you, and feeling the heaviness of what I know was to be left behind, but also knowing the lightness of what's to come. And I just wanted to protect you, and I didn't want to see you in pain and grieving, and I feel like it would have been too much and too heavy on your mind to know anything like this beforehand.
To know,
Um,
to know that you have gone to the new earth and that you and the kids are good. It it freed me. It freed me because I would never want you to be here. And I'm so glad that you are there. I'm so glad that it's me here, doing what I need to do here to help here. I would never want you to be here and experience this. So this has been, as soon as I realized that you didn't die as such and that you're merely experiencing this amazing new earth experience, like, I'm happy. I'm not jealous, I'm not upset that I'm missing out at all. I fully am so happy for you, and I know that I've got something else happening. I trust that this is not going to just be my last life. I trust that now that I've got this spiritual team that is here for me and helping me, I can feel it. I can feel the energy. I call them in. I ask them. Ask them for signs, and I am watching, and I'm applying this. I'm applying this. I'm applying this. But I am so grateful that you're not here, even though all I wanted was you to be here when it started happening. And now I'm just so beyond grateful that you're not.
can you tell me what did happen before everything changed? Is or what is life like there now?
When you left, everything just started getting more and more denser. The energy started shifting, and it felt like just this big storm that was brewing, and just brewing and brewing and brewing, and it just felt like it was something really extraordinary that hadn't really been felt before. It was so noticeable. Suddenly, the shift of the temperature changed. It was so chilly, and it was this really eerie feeling of something gigantic about to take place. And it just
Mhm.
this storm just kind of hit, but it was not just rain, it was all this other stuff as well, not just water. It was this full-on wind, and then there was this like matter that was in the air, in the water. It was really strange. The winds were so aggressive and angry, and not just not just one direction, it was all directions. The sound of the storm was so intensive, and so angry and so aggravating within. um, and it was just so for long. We did get some power cuts and things were not really working that well, and I just had sort of spent almost some days sort of snuggled up on the couch, just sort of having some reflective time, thinking, gosh, this is going on for longer than we were expecting. And
Mhm.
it was just sort of taking its sort of taking its time to move forward. And
Mhm.
we were noticing, lots of broken trees, and everything was just getting hammered. And it was weird because we weren't really getting much information of like weather systems, or we did find that we had a radio that was batteries that we had in like an emergency kit, but it's a very small handheld one, and it's not very big range. So we were sort of listening to whatever we could, but we just sort of that was later down the track. But as we were waiting for this storm to sort of settle, it took about 3 or 4 days for us to start sort of thinking, kind of wanting to see what's actually happening, because this is relentless. This is just not giving up.
Mhm.
And just kind of as it did start sort of giving up, there was a lot of uh, we just we're not able to connect. The longer the powers were out, Cindy wanted to go to work and to see how everything was going, but it was like, oh, how can you even go to work with this weather? How is it going to be safe on the roads? And the journey would take so long because all these branches were just being flowing around everywhere. The house
Mhm.
wasn't too battered, but it was enough to sort of realize that this is not drivable, safe winds. There was just such density to it. It just felt like almost, this is going to sound silly, but this is almost like what, we were making jokes about Dorothy and going to the yellow brick road, and
The
that
Wizard of Burn.
yeah, it just kind of felt, but it wasn't a cyclical winds. It was really jarring, inconsistent winds, like a big storm, but it wasn't a storm we've ever experienced. It was the density of that that chill in the air, but there was something else. It was like an electrical something else that really made us almost like the hair on our bodies sort of stand up. And
Mhm.
it was really, really, it's like eyes wide open, and our senses of our bodies were really, we slowed down our body, and we were really felt like we were in a time pause. It was very strange. Like we had no real sense of sort of time, and even though we knew that we were there for many days, and this storm just was not giving up, we couldn't go outside. We were really housebound, so we tried to make the most of it. But the sense of something big happening, we just couldn't put our finger on it. And so we just tried to snuggle up and make the most of it, and try and distract ourselves from paying attention, because it was sort of going on and on and on. And then Cindy did go to work, and we both went back to the house, and she went to work to see what was going on, because she was feeling really anxious about figuring out what's going on, and the state of just what injuries were happening, and she knew she would have more connections to understanding what was going on and why. And it wasn't until she came home that she told me what was really happening and how many people had gone. Many people had
Mhm.
suddenly just died and left. And now I can understand it, understand what had happened, but it was very strange. And she came home, and it was like something had, someone that we knew had died. It was that intensity. But what she was going to tell me, I couldn't even believe. I couldn't make out what she was saying to me, because she was
Mhm.
saying that it wasn't just one person. That I said, who had died? Who's died? What's happened? What is this? And she couldn't. She was shaking. She was so pale, and
Mhm.
I didn't even know how she drove home. She can't even remember driving home. And she just had to share with me what she could try and figure out. But she realized that she couldn't be at work. She needed to come and tell me what had happened. And then I couldn't believe it myself. She wanted to make sure that I was okay, that we both went back to her work where there was power and we could talk to other people. And it was very
Mhm.
confusing. The information that we were getting was that lots of people had suddenly just died, and they were indoors. They were talking, they were in conversations, they were doing things, and they've just died. And it was really confusing because it's not like they got the storm didn't get them, but yet so many people in the hospital died. Very weird, very surreal, and so confusing. So confusing. And,
Wow.
and that's when I realized that I needed to contact everyone that I knew. And we tried at the hospital to get phones working, because there was emergency systems that were in place, but they were really old school. I want to say that it was, it's like not a trucker's device, but something else where you have those
Like,
radios that you can,
yeah, like a CB radio that you
yes, yes, but
listen on.
none of us even knew how to, no one knew how to reach anyone that was on there, and I certainly couldn't reach you. We kept trying to use our phones and they were not really working as
Mhm.
well. And so it was the week, it was the strangest things. It was so disconnecting because we couldn't get a hold of anyone. We had to physically go and see people, and it was, there was no illness. There was no people with illnesses or accidents as such. It was just the living and just the dead. And
Mhm.
the living were so confused of what has just happened here? What is this movie we're in? Wake me up from this ridiculous dream. This is not funny anymore. And you can't, it's not comprehensible what's just happened, because we're all suddenly really afraid of the potential of, is this a new virus? Because we were told at the beginning that this virus could make people drop down dead. And,
Mhm.
and we were wondering, is this something new? And there was no physical signs. There were people who were talking to someone one minute, and then they suddenly just collapse in front of them. There was nothing. There was no rashes. There was no illnesses. There was nothing. It was the there one minute and gone the
Mhm.
next. And,
Wow.
and this, we couldn't understand it. It
Mhm.
doesn't make sense.
Mm.
It didn't make sense. And
Right.
so it, reading your book obviously makes a hell of a lot of sense. But it is strange. It is strange to know that you guys knew what was going to happen when we
Mhm.
were completely clueless, and when we had to experience it, we were still very clueless. So it was supporting each other, trying to be. We all looped. We all tried to think. how, what, why. We wanted to see who else was there. We realized we couldn't get a hold of everyone, so it was just rallying all the people that we could get. And of course,
Yeah.
there were there were current people who were in the hospital for some sicknesses and some illnesses, which were the case prior to the event, when everyone, well, not everyone, because there is many that are still here with us. Not as much as we. There was a lot. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of
Mhm.
here, but it is strange to know that we are still here. We did not know why, and we did not know any of this. So I'm sorry. It still is interesting. It still is so interesting to try and understand it from what we experienced to then applying what has been written and what I've read and what I've understood. And it all makes sense now, um, as I'm applying it, but it's very surreal to read about myself in this book. Very surreal, and very surreal to read about my daughter, who I am so proud of, knowing
Mhm.
what she knows and what she had to go through to be able to get this book to me, because this book is very, very important to me, because it has helped me understand it all, because there was nothing we could have, we would have been completely lost. We would not have a clue. We would have been the most confused. And I think that's the hardest part for us to experience, was the confusion of not
Mhm.
knowing why. And that can drive you mad when you can't understand why something so profound like this has happened. It's madness when you just cannot figure it out. So
Mhm.
it was, so, as soon as I started reading the book, I couldn't put it down. I had to finish it. I
Yeah.
I wanted to read it. I knew even when I was reading it, I would start reading it straight away again. Um, but I realized that it was still a lot for me to process, so I had to go back into it and
Yeah.
have moments to apply it. And it is easy to apply and trust the information when we've just experienced all of this loss. It is
Mhm.
very true. When I have read my own accounts, it is very true. It is very true. And it is a mind bend. But it does give me great comfort to know that the people that I love are in the most appropriate places. I see that I have the key and can help people understand it, even though it sounds.
Mhm.
The book seems normal from what we've just experienced, and it gives us a good guide. And you can't eh, we have gone in circles so many times about why this has all happened, that when you, soon as you read the book, you understand exactly, okay, this is it, this is going to help us, and this is the tool, and this is the answers, and this gives us great peace of mind. Even though it's challenging, it gives us that reassurance of the afterlife, the
Mhm.
reincarnation, the new destination. We all really got hope that we can raise our vibrations enough to be able to see things from the bigger picture, to then be able to shift to the new earth. Because we want to be with our loved ones, we want to be with the ones who have left. And
Mhm.
it gives us incredible guidance and hope to be able to do that. So we are taking this very seriously, and we are doing everything we can and talking about it together. And
Mhm.
it's so surreal to be around each other and say, if we talked about this a few months ago, this would have sounded like we needed to be in a loony bin. And the reality is, you can go crazy at what you term the old earth. It would be very easy to go crazy and lose your mind here, and feel so overwhelmed with all the emotions. But when you can talk about this with others, we are so empowered. The people that we connect with and support, we realize how horrible and challenging that confusion is. And so we want to empower ourselves to understand it the most we can. And this is what the book gives us.
Well, that's good to know. Um, so what is the most helpful piece about it, and how does Cindy accept it and integrate it? And I mean, who all do you share it with others? Do you make copies? Like, how are you getting, I mean, what are you doing with the information besides applying it to yourself?
I let one copy be made from mine and then I don't let it go. Cindy wants to stay and do more work with the people at her hospital. Not, they hope that more people come to the hospital. So they are waiting for people to reach out to them. She is, it took her a while. I had to read the book to get it and to know that we were in it for her to then realize that there was validity there. She could not wrap her mind about what had happened. Nothing she could understand. She couldn't understand it, which frustrated her because she likes to know everything that is happening for bodies and for people. And this put it's like her ego had to realize she did not know everything and much
Mm-hmm.
that she wanted. So this took her out of her comfort zone of being in control. And so she had to trust that what I was saying, I was summarizing it. And she realized that the more people who could understand this and get over your uh, judgment and thoughts of what spirituality is, and actually realize there was validity there. And when you were trained to be a doctor, you were trained to believe that you are all knowing and all wise of the human body, and that everything is very practical. And then suddenly you're having to now have bigger perspective and trust and faith in the invisible. It is very challenging until you are in a situation where most of the population suddenly dies. So she is on board with it because she's had to witness it. And she realizes that when you are so profoundly in shock, you need the antidote or the cure, and there is no medicine for that apart from the truth. And the truth is in the book. And so she trusted the people that needed to get on board with the antidote, with the information, to be able to apply it. So then they could go and share the information. So the book was copied many times from those copies. And the comfort for me, the information for me was so it was life, it was breath, it was everything. It's not just words. Those are just
Mm-hmm.
not words that you see on this paper. It is our survival. It is everything. It is our mindsets. It's just it's
Yeah,
it is just
it's a living, breathing. It's a live. I feel like it's a living, breathing manual book. It's, it's working through so many different times and places, and it's ultimately there to help all of you.
yeah, yeah. And we all keep wondering what we would do if we'd known and what we could have done differently. But we realize that you cannot prepare for this because our minds would have gone in every other direction. And
Mhm.
from, yeah, it's very challenging. We understand that there are people who knew about this and have found themselves on the old earth, and we could imagine that would be very challenging as well, knowing that they had the opportunity to shift and raise their vibration. It's it's mind bending. There, it's so fascinating. It keeps us so distracted from trying to worry about our predicament, to having this other sense of information. Of course, there are many people that don't want to read the book. They want to be in fear and just stress, and they're energetically hard to be around. So we are kind
Mhm.
of giving everyone lots of space as well, to be able to do what they can. So they need to process it, and uh, there's a lot. We all want a lot of our own alone time, to reflect and go within and just quiet
Mhm.
our minds, because that is, we all like to sleep a lot as well,
Mhm.
because that gives us that solitude and solace, and that is really important for us, to have our
Mhm.
private time, as well as we all want to be together, because we don't, we're afraid, that it could happen again in some way, and we don't quite know how things are going to unravel for us. So we want to
Mhm.
be close, but we don't want to be in each other's pockets, because when we do have those emotional outpours, it is like all our inner work keeps coming out in waves, and so we have to remember how to apply it, the emotions of it, and how to
Mhm.
unpack it. And uh, it's a lot of inner childhood work that comes out, that's from our trauma from our childhoods. It's the weirdest things. We should be focusing on, how to rebuild and to, but there's, it's weird because not everything, we don't need to rebuild, because there are still structures here. So it's about how do we move forward? How do you plan, to keep going when we know that this planet is no longer with soul, uh,
Mhm.
that she is reincarnated, and we feel so insignificant. We just feel like, uh, it's put our perspective of ourselves being the world's for us, versus, oh, we are just merely visitors here. And it is a definite shift in perspective of who we are, what the planet is. And the greatest comfort was confirming that there is, reincarnation, and that there is life beyond what we are experiencing in what we now know is the third dimension of this planet. And those concepts are very important for us to see and understand. Um, well, there was more questions. I'm sorry, I have not been able to.
Yeah, so moving forward, and after this whole event has taken place and it's been some time, and um this this manual, this work has really gotten out. Um what is the biggest impact from it? How does this information spread and help others? Um I mean, I'm not sure if it's, would be 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road. Can you give me a sense of, according to your timeline, after this has all taken place and it's been some time?
It's about the inner work that needs to be done to be able to master the three-dimensional reality. And so it is so concentrated, so challenging to be forced with all of these. You cannot be distracted with anything else. You must do that work. You must be able to, um, move above it, and have a bigger perspective of it. Those who get stuck, um, they get profoundly stuck, but there is so much to push them to overcome and to conquer, and to start relying on others. So it's, when you read the book, it is an awakening, and then you
Mhm.
you are not distracted with anything else. There is an abundance of food for us.
Mhm.
There's the survival. It's like camping, but in your own home, in
Mhm.
terms of how you deal with. And we're not hungry. There's so much anxiety and so much tension just in living. We're not comfort eating at all. We are.
Mhm.
It makes you nauseous eating because you're already tuned up emotionally inside. You have no appetite. You know you have to continually feed and fuel the body, but we're wanting to feed and fuel our minds first, and so that
Mm.
gives us that is our appetite. We realize from reading the book that we don't have forever here. We don't get
Mhm.
to retire here as such. We get to work quickly on our inner work and hope that we can make the next shift to go to New Earth. This is what we wanting to believe. This is our hope. If everyone can shift, we can still too. This is the work we need to do. This is intensive for us to do all of that. There is nothing to distract us apart from doing this work. And I am very motivational. I'm very motivated. I'm very motivated. I would like to come. I would like to come.
Yeah, I would love for you to come. Um, and I have to ask, does Taylor and his family, are they still there?
No, they went to.
Okay. 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 Um, so may I call in your subconscious, please?
Yes. Yes,
Um,
I am here. It's his higher self is here as well to support you with your questions.
okay. Um, is there a point where you consciously feel like I am connecting with you, like where you consciously feel like you can tap into um, my energy or to a conversation or um, it- or do you get any kind of signs or feelings when you read something or you do something and just feel like that I'm there with you or having a conversation with you?
He feels your energy when he's reading the book, and so he wants to honor that and honor you with that. And when he sleeps, he actually has connections to all of his spiritual team and his families. So this is why they like to sleep more and as long as possible to be able to be to have those high connections. It's when they are awoken, when they are awake and walking around and consciously aware of their 3D existence. That is the most heaviest and densest experiences. And so that's where all the lessons are played out and experienced. It's overwhelming so much that they do want to keep going back to sleep and putting themselves out of that discomfort. So when he is in sleep mode and not so much in the body, you connect with him often
Mhm.
because you can be, we can say, you're in many places at once energetically, and you know that he is going to be fine even though your emotions sometimes worry about him more than
Mhm.
you need to be. You can trust his higher self and me, his subconscious, there right with him, guiding
Yeah.
him to do this. This is important not just for the way he responds to being on the old earth, is not just important for his personal growth and evolution, for the people that are around him as well. He will be a leader. He will respect this work instantly because he respects you profoundly. And so there's not
Mhm.
going to be a, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be bothered to read this. He
Mhm.
will read it and again and again and again because he can feel your integrity and your information. It is very overwhelming for him to know that you have had these conversations with him and he cannot recall them. It is not you popping into his consciousness and having a chit chat, unfortunately for him. but it is
Mhm.
happening while he is unconsciously aware of the connections. So this
Mhm.
is we are allowing him to know right now as he is reading this with his. We're giving him full body tingles for him to know that this is us connecting in with
Mhm.
him. And the very first time he reads this, it will shock him to realize that this is an energetic connection and communication that we have with all of you. This is how your spiritual team taps you on the shoulder. It will not be a tapping on the shoulder, it will be an electric buzz sensation somewhere on the body just to get your attention. It may be the a place where you think, why are you connecting with me here? And we
Mhm.
say, we are not location specific. We don't. It doesn't matter to us when we buzz you, when we tap you on the shoulder, when we clasp your hand, when we energize your foot. This is us.
Mhm. Mhm.
People expect us to come and appear in front of your eyes, introduce ourselves to you, and request your Facebook friendship. We want to
Mhm.
lighten this conversation because this content is very heavy. And we know that
Mhm.
many people are going to be in a form of traumatization themselves as they are worried about the people that they love could be separated from and experiencing these harder lessons on the old earth. And we want to reassure everyone, once again, everyone will be at the most appropriate place for them and their lessons and their learning. Earth is very extremely hard. It is
Mhm.
very extremely hard, and you're all doing the best you can cope with while being pushed and pulled and manipulated. It is very challenging, but you all have signed up for this and you all want to graduate. And some
Mhm.
can graduate before the others. It's not a race, it's an individual journey. And we are forcing and shaking the people who need to get a wriggle on because there is not that much time. And we know you've heard this from us before. It is soon, not that much time. And we say when it does happen, it will be the most appropriate time for humanity. And you can have trust and faith that we will not bungle this up. We are professionals in this field of supporting you, and we will not drop the ball this case either. We love you and support you, and we would never traumatize you more than you need to experience. And while you're in the midst of feeling traumatized, you may feel like this is a harder lesson than you signed up for. So it is about knowing you can release and control your emotions and put them into place. You get so burnt out with being exhausted and traumatized that you're forced to actually find your neutral. This is an extreme lesson. We're not going to pretend it's not. It is. It is profoundly significant for future events that this goes accordingly well and everyone gets to experience the most appropriate that they must experience.
Mhm. Yes, yes, so true. And I'm glad to know, and it's just confirmation that it's like an accelerated task where people are still doing their inner work, and have that drive and initiative to get it done because they have a whole nother sense of purpose. um
When you realize that most of the planet was removed to be taken to a what we would term heaven, but not in heaven afterlife status, as in amazing wonderment, fantastic paradise of a planet, which is is the icing on the cake of a human existence of life. Um,
mhm,
it is amazing. And when we realize that there are bigger powers, when people on the old earth realize there are bigger powers at play, that are waiting for us to do our own inner work, you become extremely motivated. And
Mhm.
you don't get distracted with trying to rebuild society. We have a smaller society and we have bigger responsibilities with ourselves. So we realize that however long we are here, we could draw it out longer if we don't do this inner work. You become so motivated to apply it, to support each other, to be able to apply the lessons and the experiences, sharing each other's feelings and being responsible for all of that. And it's you become responsible for yourself more than we've ever taken responsibility before, and we are holding each other accountable for that while still being caring and supportive. But we've all gone through this trauma together, so it's like forcing us to get over it faster. When you survive something together, no one's a victim because we're all in the same boat, and so we can support and encourage each other that way. It's incredibly powerful. We see growth where we would
Mhm.
never assume it. We can't believe ourselves and how much we're empowering ourselves. And as soon as you start realizing that you are in control of the emotions and the way you react, that is an incredibly powerful tool.
Right, right. Oh, so what do y'all find that you do with the majority of your time? And how, you know, I know when we were going through our own, like when my time here and going through my own stuff and trying to work through my triggers and whatnot, what are you still getting together with others? Like, how are you working through your triggers, or how are you working through that inner work?
Well, when everything feels like it's been taken away from you, um,
Mhm.
and the reality of the bigger picture and perspective of things, all the small all the small nonsense that kind of would hold us back previously, or would you would have issues, small issues, they which felt big before the shift and before the events, they
Mhm.
seem quite pathetic now,
Yeah.
because it's just such small details of nonsense. And I mean, we fondly think of our harder experiences that we thought were harder before the event because they were actually not as bad at all. So all of the inner work can be done from our childhood because, you know, we had the normal lives. So it puts everything into a different perspective where uh, thinking for children that are alive now on the old earth, what will they be experiencing? We experienced, normal life stuff that had its ups and downs, and we can now put it all into place rather than still feeling like hard done by smaller things. It suddenly just gets serious, and all of the smaller stuff that we used to distract ourselves with, it's complete, it turns instantly meaningless. So when you don't have that emotion to the drama of it, you can just unpack that and release that
Mhm.
instantly. It instantly gets released as soon as you realize that most of the people that you love and know are no longer alive. You start getting quite serious with perspective and
Mhm.
any of the nonsense you're holding yourself back or blaming yourself with or blaming others with. It's like you almost get a clean slate. You become a new you. I feel like I
Mhm.
became a new me as soon as the I realized I was on the old earth. It is very liberating in some ways because you instantly can step out of the old you and become the new you, knowing that you've survived this. And there is this very important reason why you've survived this. And you suddenly value things. You feel very lucky to be here, as strange as it may sound and be surprising to you,
Mhm.
because before you know about this shift and where you have gone, Courtney, you feel lucky to be alive, even though does become the survivor's guilt, because we don't feel perfect. And so, have they been forsaken, or are we the ones that are forspoken? So again, it's questioning and trying to understand everything. Um, so
Yeah, that makes sense.
what we do for the majority of the time is have these conversations to see if there is anything that is still hurting people or you can't release it. But this is a common thing we feel, is that once you've survived something so big and we have each other, you don't feel alone, because it's like we're allowed to have feelings now, or we're allowed to cry, we're allowed to say this is so fucking overwhelming, holy
Mhm.
fuck, and we get it. And it's like we now are tapped into emotions because we're so overwhelmed that we're allowed to, and
Mhm.
we are supported with that. And one day it may be me crying and feeling really overwhelmed, or the next minute or the next hour, and then someone else can take. We all support each other because we realize that there is waves. We're not all bawling our eyes out in the same room together. Yeah,
Mhm.
we have tears, but it's not hysterical. We're coping, we're moving forward, we're hearing each other more than we've ever heard people before in our entire lives. We are honoring our feelings, we're releasing our feelings, knowing that this life is a page in a book of a volume of lives we're going to experience. We want to make ourselves proud of how we approach this situation. We understand this is going to be the toughest situation that any of our lives will have to experience. And we want to make ourselves proud. We want to make our soul families proud. We want to honor the situation because we understand the responsibilities, of supporting each other, for many reasons. We understand the significance.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like, yeah, a clean slate and a triggering all at the same time, and just to drop all of the nonsense and the trivial things that just it puts a lot of things in perspective. So I totally
And we do things that
can.
we've never really done as much before, is that we share happy stories and we share
Mhm.
times. And it's nice to hear someone feel that joy and happiness, because you can't take away people's memories. And so we're sharing what we can. And when we share positivity and uh, um, we uplift each other and we like those feelings, we suddenly become really, we become very sensitive to the higher vibrational feelings, to the lower feelings. And when you're so stuck in the lower feelings because of the density, we yearn to talk about the higher fun things and the positives, because the more it is like when we're sleeping, we're disconnected from the density. When we're hearing and talking about positive things, we like that too, because it distances ourselves away from the density. So
Mhm.
we will make up stories. We will recall funny jokes. We will try to entertain ourselves with humor, and we have found some really bad old earth humor. And we're going to stick
Mhm.
with it because we want all the tools we can have to be able to lift our moods, to help us. And we are doing, I want to say that we're doing good. We have got hope, and we will do the best we can and have as much of the experiences that we can, while we're exploring this, because we understand a lot, and we have grown, um, and this is a different, um, older version of your father, but not old as an age, but the days that they spend on the old earth um, is profound. It is like weeks of therapy in an afternoon. And so his perspective grows and he becomes so accepting and releases so much. So the later part of this conversation has been him in this more balanced perspective while being here.
Wonderful. Oh, that makes me happy though. Is there anything concerning the manual um, that is there anything, I don't know, subconscious, is there anything that you feel like um, would have been helpful to have in it? Or do you feel like it's full of everything and more? Is it, or what was the most helpful? Is there anything you can tell us about the manual itself?
It explains as much as it can, and
Mhm.
there is many more questions. Many of us want to understand the method and the technique and the process. And we say that them knowing more about Dolores Cannon's work and the books that we provided for humanity then through Dolores would also be very helpful for people to understand. Any of the books have got profound healing, and these are significant because she has already done the back breaking groundwork to in this field, and it's already written out. And so anyone that wants to add supplement to this book would merely just need to add a Dolores Cannon book, or the whole collection would be fantastic. But ultimately, they don't have that long to focus on the old earth. They will shift before too long. They have enough time to really do that profound inner work and find balance before they shift, which must seem so mean to pull you out of those lives just as you master everything. But there is no need to continue on in that density when you've mastered everything. You graduate. You don't just keep learning the same stuff. You can't just keep learning the same stuff. You graduate.
Mhm.
You change, and that's purposeful. You must.
Yeah. Wow. So, subconscious, um, does my dad go to New Earth, or does he go somewhere else?
He does feel that he wants to go to New Earth because he wants to have hope. And we want to give him this hope because he's reading this book and we want to give him hope. And we say that you are responsible for your own inner work. And the more you raise your vibration, the more we will support you.
Are there any other messages that you have at this time for my dad or for Courtney, um, or for anyone in general, for humanity? For
This is a life contract that you had together that you would agree to be doing this for humanity. Well, this is a conversation between a father and a daughter through an incredible, extraordinary time for this planet. You both agreed to share this connection and this love relationship of mutual respect to be able to show humanity how, with compassion, with maturity, and with trust and faith in the metaphysical purposes of the what is happening here, you can, with balance, work through this and navigate through this. The experience that people will be thinking about when they're listening to these conversations is how would this affect them? How would they behave? What would they say? What would they feel? And this would be appropriate for all to start questioning this. Many people's life contracts have changed as they need to then help assist the people of the old earth. And so nothing is set in stone, everything changes. And we want to thank Rick and Courtney for this beautiful gift for humanity to hear this conversation and to read this conversation, because it is one that has powerful life lessons and experiences to grow and reflect from. So we thank you. We thank you for all that you have done. It is of great service to humanity.
Well, I want to thank Joanne and all the spiritual teams involved in this, because without her and her passion and the connections with all, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you for um, just allowing all of it to take place and to come out and help in any way for anyone.
She feels that she is just one small wheel in this, because she wants to dedicate this to Dolores and her harder work for all of those decades that she tried to help humanity be prepared for this. And it is appropriate for Dolores to also get the larger uh, dedication and devotion, because Dolores has set the way for this. This is merely an extension of Dolores's work, and we of course say, well, obviously it's our work that we have provided for Dolores, but everyone is taking part to help humanity. Many people are used to tuning us out and not noticing us as their spiritual teams and guides. So we have needed to have people on the ground talking in front of these people who refuse to acknowledge and take responsibility of their own inner work and remember the purpose of this lifetime, to remember themselves and to help others remember that this is just an experience that you've all wanted to experience. It is a very challenging one, but the lessons are fantastic. The lessons are so valuable and significant, not just for your own personal lifetimes now, but for your future experiences and for the results of many other planets, many other beings, many other collectives that must never be forgotten. This is very significant for future events. This is the bigger perspective that we don't need to make you focus on or be even concerned about. But what is happening now is going to amplify and ripple out and make such a positive impact. You understand the significance much more in the future. And we say this with much love.
Would it be appropriate at all at this time to call in Dolores's higher self and anything that she would like to contribute at this time?
Dolores is going to come in as herself because her conscious mind wants to have a conversation. And she says on here, hello, Courtney. Hello, hello.
Oh, hi, Dolores.
This is such a wonderful connection. And as the content is very convoluted, it would have been marvelous to have added it into one of my books. But the world was not ready to hear about a shifting to another planet, let alone a shift to consciousness. And even that understanding of the significance of such an event was not that widely accepted at a conscious level. Everyone at a higher advanced level intuitively knew what I was saying and what I was discovering in my work is in fact true. It was just the, shall I say this with much love, their monkey minds wanting to hold them back. And so, as you know, I say this with love, your conscious mind is kind of Mr. Stupid, isn't it? It kind of wants
Mhm.
to be the boss of everything, but really it is just merely there to protect your body from not putting your fingers in the toaster. And I want to make this more lighter in conversation because the topics and the content is very heavy, and there really is no need to feel into that heaviness, knowing that the experiences are perfect and needed, so greatly needed. And I will not let you forget about that, ladies. The significance of the events and the importance of what will be coming from the growth and experiences on the old earth is phenomenal and extremely important. And we have, they have slightly given you the information. And I know you're very keen at listening and understanding and reading in between the lines of what they are alluding to. And I want to say that I am so proud of you both because I have connected with you, Courtney, so many times, and you have been open to me so many times. And
Mm.
I just am there, and I'm just so proud, and I am just so happy, and I'm just so happy, and I am just so happy.
Oh, I love you, Dolores. You have paved the way and expanded the minds of many, and I just honor and adore and loathe your work. I mean, yeah, even, just like Joanne's work, it's every time I read or listen to something of yours, it's like I pick up something new each time. And the same thing with Joanne's work. So thank you for being a teacher to us both.
That is wonderful to hear that you are noticing the differences and the growth, because that means you are growing. So obviously the words stay the same and don't change, but you noticing that when you're reading my work, you're going out of body with your mind. It's hard to focus on the content and the words as you are being profoundly upgraded. When people seek out my work, they are ready for the upgrading, they're ready for the activations, they're ready to be of service. And it is of importance for people to understand that. Many try to read my books and put it down because they lose focus and think, oh, maybe this is not a book for me. The truth is, they're all books for everyone. They are very significant, they are high vibrational, and I didn't realize the true significance and importance of it. I was just very curious. I wanted the truth out, and I was just navigating my way what I was discovering in sessions. And I wanted to share that as much as I could, while I still was limited myself to sharing everything. We were very guided, and I respected the information, and I didn't want to cross paths and take liberties where I shouldn't have, because I did not want to be blocked from this information. And I knew sometimes my curiosity got away with me, and sometimes I was denied information, and I didn't like that very much. So I tried to work around the information that was available to me. And I knew that if I did lots of my inner work and if I grew and expanded my mind, I would get the bigger information. So that was great motivation for me. And I really appreciated the challenges that were given to me. I didn't appreciate the people who were struggling with the content and still wanted to judge me and the authenticity of this work because of their limitations of their own mindsets. I could understand where they've come from, but I did not work as hard as I did to be criticized. And this was a frustration, which I still had to deal with myself. So I learned tough love. I learned love with boundaries, and I learned to respect this work more than the critics.
Mm, yes, I love that, and you always knew what to ask and how to ask it. So, thank you for your curiosity.
It was just a thirst that I needed, and it was life purpose. It was a life contract I had. I was designed that way. I designed my life to be of service, to be able to help humanity and get as much information out as possible, because it was such a significant time. People who
Mhm.
experience the old earth feel like the rug has been pulled off from underneath their feet, when reality is this was a very overdue shake-up. And my work had guided people into a different direction for this to eventuate. It's a marvelous event, and I am very thrilled how it is all unfolding. It is spectacular, and you will all appreciate it from my perspective when you get here. But there is no rush because there is much more for you to explore and experience.
Mm, okay. Do you have any other messages for us at this time?
uh, there is there is excitement because more and more people are taking responsibility of their own inner work because they're suddenly realizing, oh, this is work for me, I can do it. And you all are such diligent beings once you realize your purpose and once you realize what you can and you can't control. Many get distracted thinking they can control others, and that is not the most easiest approach. So there is so much to be said, but I feel that the people who are listening to this are already emotionally exhausted from the roller coaster they have experienced. I would like to have my full conversation time because I have not introduced myself fully to the people who are reading this book. And for the majority of people who are reading this book, they have not met me or I have not introduced myself to them. So I would like to be able to converse with them, to be able to tell them and advise them of my own experiences and journey, to be able to be of service and how I got my books out. Of course, they may not be possible for them to get books and seek my information while they're on the old earth. I understand they may have a copy of this book if they are lucky to have others that have provided for them. And I endorse all who feel the need and feel the compassion for those who will be on the old earth to give them this tool of survival, because it could be potentially your loved ones, and potentially it could even be yourself. So do not assume anything. Nothing is written in stone yet. For each individual person, as your higher self may see that there may be greater need for you to experience the old earth, depending on the way that you respect yourselves and respect the vibrations of yourself and connect in. If you're able to release fear, if you're able to empower yourself with love and love of others, respect of others, and respect of yourselves, with your moral compass set on the most diligent of all, uh, there is so much I can say. But I would like to come back at another session where there is fresh airs and reset of heavier emotions on the heart.
Yes, makes sense. Thank you, Dolores. And thank you for my dad and his conscious awareness and for his higher self and coming through. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This was wonderful to be able to connect in this way and have the whole perspective from his perspective.
Yes. Yes. And all of the beings who are our assistants today to help with this communication are all
Yeah.
very honoured to be able to be playing their roles because they know the significance of it. It is much big. It's not. It is much bigger than the beings who have just played a role in this connection. And this is your higher self talking to you now, Courtney. And I am so proud of you.